being 8:30. For special meeting, I will to order. Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Ann is here,
Don is here.
and
She said she'd be here.
okay. Let's wait, give her. Let's. Let's get started on the simple ones anyway. Is there any? Question, are there any questions about Article 1, which is changing the date of the town meeting from the 1st to the 4th Monday in April?
It's be helpful to know if you would recommend approval for each one as you go.
Yes. I thought we discussed it first and approve it
Yeah.
after.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had talked about it being the 3rd Monday. This is just sort of for the record, and that turns out to be a holiday, which is going to be inconvenient. So, does the board recommend approval of Article 1?
So moved. Second.
Brian?
Yes.
Kathleen? Yes. Anne says yes.
Yes.
Says yes.
And I'm here.
Oh, hi
Yeah.
Becky. Article 1, you recommend approval?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Who would like to speak on this?
I can speak. I hadn't thought about that. Do we need to do that today?
Well, it's helpful
Okay.
if you're ready to do that.
Okay, so John,
Okay.
So your seconds.
John moves. Brian seconds. The city of the town, Article 2 is $30,000 for enhanced security computer network. Any questions or discussion?
I do have a question. So does this include the pen testing that we talked about?
Yes.
Okay. So it includes pen testing and what else?
It includes new encryption of all devices.
Our devices are not,
They are it's a new encryption.
okay, so we're enhancing
Enhancing
the existing encryption, okay. And anything else?
There are a few more things.
Do we have like
Multi-factor
authentication
That's already in place.
already in place?
Yes. Yeah. And so I know that it also involves some additional measures for the libraries. So the library has a different coalition.
Okay, yes, that interacts with other libraries.
Right.
Okay,
And so I know that that was an area of vulnerability.
okay.
So we can get you more detailed list.
It's a topic of interest.
Yes.
So yes, it is. That would be great. Thank you.
Are we prepared to put this on the back on warrant?
I will move to put Article 3 on the warrant.
Article 2.
I'm sorry, Article 2 is
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Becky?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Okay, Kathy, do you
And
want?
excuse me, who were the movers and seconders? I'm having trouble.
We haven't got there yet. This was a motion to put it on the warrant. The next, we will ask Kathy if she will.
Yes, but I think we also need to.
Okay, fine.
Yes, so I move to recommend approval
Okay,
of Article 2.
second.
Yes.
Kathy, I'm sorry, Becky,
Yes,
Brian says yes, Kathy says yes, Anne says yes, John says yes. Okay, now Kathy, would you
That would be it.
move the, yes. And who will second? All right. Nothing.
I'm happy to second. Couldn't hear if somebody did.
Okay,
A little late to the party here.
Article 3.
And excuse me, it's really
Yes.
difficult to hear you speaking.
Okay.
That's what I said. Yeah, I
The
couldn't
quality of the
hear.
mic, the quality of the mic is not very good in there.
You should speak up.
I will,
Kathy?
okay, Kathy will move the question. And John and Brian will second,
Thank you.
and we recommend approval. The Article 3 is to fund the town's share of an operational audit of the school district. Are there any questions?
Just a question, 60,000 is enough?
I don't know for certain.
Should we ask for a number that we're quite sure we won't exceed?
Confident 80,000 would be enough.
Okay, should
You
we?
could always supplement to reserve account if 60 wasn't, but fairly confident 60 is enough, but you can put it in.
May I ask you a
Well,
question?
that's just our share, right? Essex is doing
Yeah.
the same.
No, Essex is doing half of what we put in.
Okay.
My question was, since FinCom already commented whether or not they recommend approval last night,
They recommended approval at the 60.
that's what I'm saying, so we would have to go back to them, if we change the dollar amount, would we have to go back to
Yes.
FinCom? Okay,
So they could do that on their meeting on the 8th.
okay, so they have time before the meeting for that, okay, thank you.
Look. My inclination is to put in the actual, the highest amount that you think is likely. Is there? People feel differently?
And then not to exceed. And if we, as long as we think a higher amount won't scare people away.
I'm concerned about the number.
Well, yeah, but if we put in a lower amount and then have to put in supplemental funds.
Right, yeah, I guess my question is, I think I need to understand Greg's comment a little better. We're gonna vote a dollar amount, or Anne's comment a little better, how does Essex, how does our choice of a number impact what Essex does?
Doesn't really
What's in-
impact what they do, that they have an article for their special town meeting,
Right, is it, what's their dollar amount?
the dollar amount. 2/3, so
So I'm wondering if they pay half of what we pay, essentially.
correct, so the maximum we think that it could cost would be 120. So a third of 120 is full. So they're appropriating 40,000.
Okay. So then why do we need to go up to 60?
Because we have to go, we have to pay twice. what they pay.
We pay 2/3, they pay 1/3.
Okay. Oh, because this
They're
includes,
the portion formula.
right, okay, so this includes the school district.
No, it doesn't.
It does not. Okay,
But we're using the same
but you're using the same
approach.
apportionment. Okay,
Yes.
that is,
And we decided that.
it's really.
We decided for, that we don't want the district involved in paying for this. To make sure that there's no sense of,
Well, so there's a long discussion about it, with the collaboration. The school committee will be taking up whether or not they would agree to put in dollars as well at their next meeting on the 7th. And yeah, in terms of ultimately, it's all Essex and Manchester money. But, there was a sense that if all three entities were contributing, then it's a more collaborative approach. Certainly, it's going to require the district to be heavily involved. It's all their data, it's all their information. So it'll be important that they participate fully. Whether or not to actually put dollars in, probably not as material, but it's certainly important that they are on board and participating.
Could we put in language that says, or transfer up to,
You can't use the word up to,
because you're either transferring or you're not?
you have to say a specific amount.
Okay,
It's implied that it can exceed, right, the amount that's appropriate.
And what we're saying here, we anticipate that we might exceed 60. And then we'd have to scramble for the money. And it just doesn't strike me as being completely honest with.
Okay.
So, I move to approve Article 3 with the change that it's transfer from available funds, $80,000 for the purpose of paying town share and so on.
I second.
Yeah, Becky,
Yes,
Brian,
Yes,
Kathy. Anne says yes.
John says yes.
John, would you like to speak to this?
I can and will.
Move the question. Becky, would you second?
yes,
Okay. Does that finish the business under Article 3? Article 4. Which is removing the limitation of existing outbuildings currently restricted to employees of the parcel owner. And removing that restriction, and I think making another change, which is just removing the restriction that it must be an employee.
It's removing the restriction that it can't be employee, and it's also prohibiting it to be used as short-term rental.
Does it require that the owner occupy one of the buildings?
Yes,
Yes.
to the current,
Okay, there is the current.
that's the current,
Okay,
that's the current requirement.
Yes, no change.
So there's no change to that requirement.
okay. Is there any discussion of this? Is there a motion to approve, to recommend this article?
so moved.
I'm going to give that one to Becky and Brian seconds. Okay. All in favor, Becky,
Yes,
Brian,
yes.
Kathy, and says yes.
John says yes.
Okay, who would like to speak to this? Or shall we?
I
just-
will. I think actually, won't the
Planning-
planning
planning
board,
Right, typically the planning board
Okay.
would,
but if you need someone to speak on it, I'm happy to. I've, been on the meeting, so.
Okay. So the planning board will move in second. And if anyone from the board of selectmen speaks on it, it will be Beth. Okay,
so just a quick
Yes.
comment on this one. So as it's currently set up, you refer to the full text. That would be a handout.
yes,
There's also, you could actually put it in the language, but I think it's cleaner to have a handout and have the whole table that it comes from so that people see it on context. Just checking if we're okay with that.
Article 5 is to raise and appropriate $916 to pay for prior fiscal year's expenses. And this is a 9/10 vote. And typically, the account is listed. In this case, it's several accounts of people who got parking tickets who shouldn't have. And we're hoping not to have to explain who exactly.
What lines?
Okay, is there a move to recommend Article 5?
And I have a question first.
Sure.
It's $916,000.
$916.
Okay, thank you. Couldn't hear.
Sorry.
I'll move to approve Article 5.
Second. Okay, I think I'll speak to this one if that's okay. I'll move the question.
I'll second.
Okay. Article 6. I'm sorry, yes. Move, this is a vote to recommend this article. I think it was moved and seconded and we didn't vote. Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy. Ann says yes, John
yes.
says yes. Okay. You see if the Article 6 is an SUV for the fire department to serve as a backup non-transport ambulance. And to use funds that are left over from the ladder truck fund. Is there any discussion?
There was some discussion about this at the FinCom meeting. I had a little trouble hearing, Greg, so could you fill the folks in on last night's conversation? I think they want to see the overall plan first before.
Right, so they
approving this.
wanted to make the recommendation on the floor. They wanted to dive a little deeper into the food schedule for the department and see the funding for each vehicle. As we put aside, so typically we have traditionally put aside money every year, $200,000 to $300,000 into the replacement fund, vehicle apparatus fund. And they before they voted on this, they wanted to see that revised with all these vehicles. So the bottom line is it'll continue to require that amount, a little more closer to the 380, in order to have funds to do the replacement schedule for all the vehicles. The line, the engine, the chief does see 2 ambulances ultimately. And then there'll now be 2 SUVs and the final force truck, pickup truck. Assuming eventually assuming that we do have 2 ambulances, 4 ambulances, this support vehicle would be adapted to be a vehicle for the deputy chief, assuming there's a deputy chief. So that's again was some of the discussion last night. We don't know if that's the case. And so there's some hesitation.
Yeah, and so I think, I personally would not like to get out in front of the finance committee on this. I would be very comfortable approving it to appear on the warrants as far as our recommendation.
So we can make a recommendation.
Town
on
meeting.
town meeting.
Yeah, I would, there are a lot of moving parts and it would be nice to see everything financially laid out before we do this, but.
Okay, the first question is, do we recommend putting it on the warrant? Do I have a motion to put this article on the warrant?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Kathy, sorry, Becky,
Yes,
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
John, yes.
Okay, that's on the warrant. The next question is our position on it. Is there a motion for our position?
I move to withhold position until town meeting.
So,
Kathy, can you just speak up a little,
sorry.
please?
I move that we not take a position until after the finance committee does so, so I think that puts us on town meeting floor.
You make your
Yeah,
recommendation.
because this
Right,
gets printed up.
Make a recommendation
Yes.
at town meeting.
Okay.
okay, was that seconded?
Second.
All in favor of making our recommendation on town meeting floor? Becky,
No,
okay? Brian,
Yes.
Yes.
Kathy says yes. John,
Yes.
Anne says yes. Becky, just out of curiosity, what's your objection to making our recommendation on town meeting floor?
oh, I'd make the recommendation now. So it's less that I object, I just would prefer to go ahead and make that. I feel if Jake is asking, Jake knows,
Okay,
has a good sense. But anyway, done and dusted.
okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think our motivation here is that when we find out what the finance committee wants to do,
Yeah, I
we're
don't
good. We
think I
just, we're not saying that we're equivocating. We're saying we need to take guidance from the finance committee.
My reason.
Oh,
is
I understand that. I'm just
To echo Kathy's one, I think it's town's best interest to show some agreement between the boards.
Well, and I asked the prior fire chief for the plan, and I don't want to treat the current fire chief any differently.
Okay, we will need someone to move, this. Becky, would you like to move it on town meeting floor?
sure.
I'll second. Okay, Article 7.
This is the reallocation of existing funds. So because the new arrangement with Hamilton is we're contracting for services for conservation agent. And also similarly with not having a town planner on board, we're doing some contracted services for the interim plan. So there are two parts, $35,000 from conservation salaries to a new professional services line in the operation budget for the conservation commission. Similarly for planning board, 10,000 from salaries, adding it to an existing professional services line in order to pay for these contracted services instead of salaries. So salaries are a separate category from the rest of the operating budget. So that's why we need to move it from one bucket to another.
Is there a motion to recommend placing this article on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
John, Becky, okay. John, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I've lost it.
It's so sad watching you off so fast.
Right, roll call vote, Becky,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Who would like to speak to this? Okay. Kathy moves. And there's someone who'd like a second. Okay,
I can second.
okay, Brian says all Becky's.
And excuse me, I apologize, but I have to leave for a doctor's appointment. But Greg and I are meeting on Friday and he can fill me in on the rest of the actions you decide on.
Okay, thank you for being present.
My
Great.
pleasure. Thank you all.
Bye, Alan.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's great the action, you know that. Pumpkin spice munch sitting right there.
Oh,
That's what we have.
Yes. I thought it was Debbie's job.
Yeah, I thought.
He's in the cold.
Brian, have one for me.
I got you covered.
okay, Article 8 is a lease with, is it Harbor Points Associated or Harbors Point Association? Associates.
I don't know that. I can find out, but
I think it's-
Harbor's.
I think it's Harbors Point.
Yes. Yeah, that does make more sense. So, yeah, so this is to authorize you to enter into a lease agreement for up to 10 years, renewable lease. So we also put into transfer available funds, a sum of money to pay for any operating costs of the building. But we don't know that. I'm not sure we will have much expense this between now and the end of the fiscal year. I'm assuming that we continue to share the building, there'll be some expense. I would recommend that the motion would indicate, or we could put it in the article. The warrant itself, figure $10,000 to cover utilities. I think it's always nice to have it in the.
Yeah.
Rather than just there's some of, so that these people guessing.
Now, currently, those expenses are covered by the community center through its fundraising initiatives.
Correct.
Is there any expectation that that would change?
So no,
Okay, so this is kind of like a backstop.
well, we would be potentially using the building more than,
Okay, so,
there'll be additional uses that would add to that expense, so that's why I think,
okay,
we have some dollars to be able to contribute towards utilities.
Mhm.
Not
I
anticipating.
think. Sorry, Greg, go ahead.
No, I'm just not anticipating them being that high, that's why I think 10,000 would be sufficient. to cover.
I think that needs to be made very clear why we're asking for the money in that, the community center is still going to own the building.
No,
No.
The community center owns the building.
Come back.
they said it currently owns the building, they will lose ownership.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we will releasing the land and the building.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
But the community center still owns the building, right?
They will not in another few weeks.
That's what's confusing, because in our past discussion, I thought I heard community center owns the building and will continue to own the building, but they're losing the lease on the land. So they have the option
Right.
of the building, so that's why I think there's confusion.
So they do have the option of moving the building if they want to retain ownership of the building.
If they want to.
If they
retain
want
ownership.
to retain
Oh,
ownership.
okay, so otherwise they do lose ownership.
Correct.
Ah,
And to that point, I think they,
That's in their current lease.
got it,
We have nothing to do with that
right,
arrangement.
okay, it just wasn't well understood.
Yeah.
in our discussions, they accept that they're gonna be abandoning the building, or they're not, there's no long-term plans to move the building. Right,
Correct.
How long in the lease is for, how long again? 10 years?
So it'll be a 10-year renewable lease. So 10 years is without getting special legislation is the maximum towns can do leases.
So they are in effect transferring the building to Harbor's Light in exchange for a long-term lease
Well,
with us.
with us, yeah.
Okay, because they're transferring, I don't know what the arrangements are, and maybe it's not relevant to this in terms of their transfer. It's not that they're necessarily getting money or not, we don't know. But that's not a relevant issue.
Correct.
Okay,
The answer is no, we're not going
okay,
to, because that was the arrangement they
agreed,
made that deal a long time ago.
okay,
So then we would be leasing the building from Harbor's Point, and therefore we have control over how it is used.
Correct.
And therefore, we would be allowing the community center to use a certain amount of space, or who's going
Some
to?
percentage of it.
So who is going to be the belly button in town hall that manages this new property?
That'll either be COA or parking.
Okay,
So we're discussing that internally, how best to do that.
The thought is that the Parks and Rec really do have a management, not like how they handle every other town property, the child.
Right. funny, somebody.
So
who knows
the
what-
infrastructure, are-
Exactly.
Well, like experience and infrastructure when it comes to do that.
Will the building be, will it be renamed then? Is it still going to remain community center or is it going to have a different name?
Yeah, I don't think that discussion has taken place. My initial reaction is to keep it a community center.
People don't like change unless there's a specific reason for it.
Right. But quite frankly, a lot of people think it's already a town building.
Right, exactly.
Yes, they do.
yeah,
So maybe just, excuse me, we could put on as a follow-up action to hear from you and your team, if this is approved at town meeting, how would we make use of the buildings? I think that's part of the point here.
Yes,
Is that Harbor's Point wants increased utilization. We certainly have some space needs.
correct.
So if we could put on our action list to hear back from you, if this is approved, what are the possibilities, or how do you anticipate using this?
Yes, for sure. The short answer is public restrooms.
Right.
Meeting space.
Yeah.
Additional council on aging activities. And a harbor master office.
But the
Who will
community
be
center,
staffing it? Because if we're having public restrooms and it's open, won't we have to have someone there all the time?
Not all the time, but we will certainly have to have someone checking on those restrooms on a regular basis.
Not hiring, cleaning, whatever.
Yeah, I think we have the staff to do that.
and to that point, I think that we've discussed not only what Rockport has as far as public restroom, which is they're blocked, but from dusk till dawn or something like that.
But they're not open 24/7. Good.
are we prepared to recommend that this article go on the warrant? If so, could I have a motion?
So
Second,
John? And this is altered from what was printed to appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of $10,000 for expenses relative to using the building. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this? Okay. And that you, Brian, will move the article. I'll second. And you will speak to the merits.
do we need to vote to put that on?
Yes, we need to vote because think we had a motion and a second to put it on and we didn't vote. Thank you. Becky,
Yes,
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Dan says yes.
John, yeah,
Trying to remember the order of things this time. Article 9, parking stickers.
So this is amending the current article in the general bylaws, resident parking, that deletes the specificity of where the stickers go, but leaves it up as an administrative function. And it amends the process, again, takes a lot of the detail, and says that the town will provide stickers to all registered cars in the town. And clears up where parking placards can be used, what lots, and then authorizes the select board after a public hearing to designate which streets are restricted to resident parking only, rather than listing them in the bucket.
So I had a question on these. I like a lot of the new language and the deletion of some of the specificity. But there are a couple of places I had questions. One where it says, said parking stickers shall be valid for 1 year. Whereas previously established a window of time, right? All stickers ended validation either on December or May, right? So this just says parking stickers will be valid for 1 year. So if I go in there on, December 1st and get a parking sticker, is my parking sticker good for 1 month? Or one?
So you're right, they would be valid for, one sticker is valid for a given period.
So I think.
is it a calendar year?
Basically our clerk's office would prefer to go to a calendar year basis. Right now, it's
So,
April to April.
No, actually,
No.
the new stickers are December 31st.
Yeah.
So there's less than a year.
Right, they say that, but the bylaw says
Right.
April, I believe, or May.
okay.
so that's my concern. I understand what
Yeah, how
you're
best to word
I
it.
think this language is unclear.
Finite dates.
So what is the, yeah. So what does the bylaws say?
And now they say stickers are valid through
The 31st of May.
31st of May, isn't it?
Okay, so do we want this to match our bylaw? Or do we,
So this is the
Part of the
bylaw.
bylaw. We're taking out.
okay, so that's why I didn't see that crossed out. Okay, yes, I see that now. Okay,
So the
so
idea was to take that out, and to
Take
get
that
it more flexible. and
Okay, so we-
administrative.
we want it more flexible. Well, what should it be? Is it?
I'm confused.
And when I read this as somebody who just moves here,
Yeah.
getting here for the first time, if you give me a parking sticker, I'm gonna think it's good for 12 more months. And that's
That's
I
not,
think
that's not,
the
what-
intent.
that's not the intent.
So said parking stickers shall be valid for the current calendar year up. Is that, yeah. And if we're moving to a calendar year basis,
So it should be
It
January.
should be
1.
calendar year of purchase, right?
calendar year of purchase,
It's,
something like that.
it's not a purchase, it's an
Issues.
issuance.
Issuance,
But don't you purchase the sticker?
not for residents, no.
Anymore.
Okay,
And resident stickers were always
that's the
free.
beach. Right, yeah.
So this is really leaving that time period up to, I guess, the town clerk as to what that's going to be. I mean, right now it is what, May 31st?
Right, in
By
the
bylaw.
bylaw, it's May 31st. In practice, your sticker says December 31st.
Yeah, the stickers right now say December 31st, and we're saying
They changed it when they started.
that the bylaw is not gonna specify a date.
Right.
And it'll be whatever the sticker is, and maybe, I mean, right now it's December 31st, but maybe there'll be situations where that time might change. Because the clerk did change it, I don't think intentionally, from May 31st to.
Absolutely
And
intentional.
very intentional.
Yeah, no, it was. It was intentional.
She specifically changed that, knowing that now the stickers that she issued were only gonna be good for 6 months. So that's what happened.
So can we make this language even more flexible so that your business practices can change as we need them to? and still have this bylaw be effective. So, something said parking sticker shall have an expiration date.
Printed on the sticker.
Yes, printed on the sticker, without being specific.
Okay,
Yes,
I would, that, I thought, yeah, I think it has to be clearly on the sticker.
Here, this is a check.
Rather than say 1 year.
yeah,
Right,
The expiration date of the sticker will be printed on the sticker, something like that.
And then so that was my first question, sorry.
What do you want?
Yeah, so visitor placards. So today's visitor parking permits also have street addresses and expiration dates. So that's being crossed out. The new visitor placards, it doesn't say that they expire at all.
but they will.
Okay, so could we add similar language for the visitor placards? Or,
yeah,
you
Yeah,
know,
because because expiration date will be printed on. the
Exactly.
placards.
yes, yeah.
is there any way to make them unable to be duplicated as we've had issues in the past?
Yes, they will be designed so that they are not easily reproduced.
But that should not be in the
That- I don't
bylaw,
think
that,
that-
No, that has nothing to do
that,
with the bylaw.
that,
I
that,
agree.
Yeah, true, okay, yep, sorry.
okay, so we've been talking about, the substance, of the motion rather than the warrant article. I think.
I'll make those changes to the handout.
Yes,
That'll be the actual new language for the bond.
right. With those changes, do we approve putting Article 9 on the warrant?
So moved.
Kathy, Ann
Second.
says, John seconds. Becky, vote.
Yes,
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Ann says yes.
John says yes.
Okay, who would like to speak to this?
I asked all the questions of me.
Okay. And who will second?
I'll say.
Okay,
could you repeat who's speaking and who's seconding, please?
Kathy is moving the question and Brian, and speaking and Brian is seconding.
Thank you.
Responsibility was what it is.
Okay, Article 10, parking on Tappan Street. Is there a discussion?
Just as Greg has mentioned, and I've had discussions with people in town. You want a number. I mean,
Mhm.
uh.
Okay,
A
rather
lot of
than,
people are thinking 30, which was the original.
Yeah.
Okay, wanna clarify that it's not anywhere near there.
okay,
I've said 10, but I'm willing to negotiate down. This is not the rock and die on.
So how many parking spaces would you be removed from the crosswalk? 2 or 3?
Two,
2.
Or up to 2 anyway, yeah.
yes. One and a half, but it's gonna have
Yeah.
a
Big regs and stuff like that.
So can we just say 2?
Or let's just say equal to the number that need to be replaced with cross,
Or not to exceed?
I don't,
Not-
but not to exceed a certain number.
I don't want to tie
Yeah, with 2.
parking
No, it
with
would be two.
crosswalk.
Yeah,
I would specify two.
at this point, yeah, I'm okay with that. I wanted 30, so I'll take 2.
I think we'll have less pushback if we're saying we're taking 2 parking spots to improve crossing safety and relocating those 2 spots to Tappan Street.
Further down, further 2 took it.
On Beach Street
Yeah,
toward Tappan.
There was
Yeah.
there was a rumor out there that we were looking at the parking on the back.
Yes.
I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah.
It's nice to have so many imaginative people in town. Okay, so what we are proposing putting on the warrant, changes the no parking zones by allowing 2 parking spaces along Free Street, east of Tappan Street.
Can I ask you a question? So,
I don't know.
going to ask a question.
Yes.
Wow. But I'm glad you got your, everything back. So we are not looking for town permission to put the crosswalk in.
Correct.
We are putting the crosswalk in, would like to replace, we just want to, we know we're gonna lose 2 parking spots. And the goal here is not to,
Reduce the
reduce the amount of parking. We'll make that definitive, make sure they know we are putting a, crosswalk in.
I think when when someone from the select board speaks to this, you will explain that.
This is you.
I like that idea.
I can speak to you.
Okay, I don't yet have a motion to put it on the warrant, so that's,
Well,
did I hear you make a motion?
I think you did.
Okay,
Second,
okay. Becky, for
Yes.
putting it on the warrant, Brian,
Yes,
Kathy,
Yes,
Ann says yes.
yes.
Okay, I think Brian has already volunteered.
Yes.
Yep.
Anyone?
I'll second.
Brian and Becky will second.
I have a prior obligation for 9:30. So I am sorry. Anne, if you're somebody, if you could let me know how things go for the rest of the meeting, and I will swing by to sign the warrant, Greg, before noon.
That'd be great.
Thank you for showing up.
Sorry, I can't stay. Anyway, thank you.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Article 11 is a petition article to authorize you to either purchase negotiation or through eminent domain the community center building and the lands, and to have the community center continue to operate from the building.
I'm going to interrupt here just a bit. The 4 citizen petition articles, I think are being questioned by somebody in town.
So we have two challenges. One, 11, 12, and 13, we feel were received with the requisite number of signatures and therefore must be put up. There has been a challenge to that. The challenge being that the challenger feels that the petition signatures all need to be verified prior to the deadline.
Right.
Town council feels that that is not correct. That the practice of allowing them to be submitted by the deadline and then verifying is sufficient.
Personally, I'd rather not have this discussion on town meeting floor. And I think that a way to avoid that is for us to put put these articles on the warrant. We don't need to recommend approval. But if we do it as a board, then we don't have to listen to somebody fight with Michelle about whether these are legally appropriate. So
I agree, and I would therefore move to put Article 11, 12, 13, and 14 on the warrant.
second,
As select board.
as select,
As select board articles.
Brian. Well. I second,
Oh, sorry.
John,
Yes.
Anthony, yes,
Oh, yes.
Yes,
okay. Now, we should go through them one by one. And, make our recommendation on the disposal of the articles. And select someone to speak to them. So on Article 11, I recommend, I do not recommend that article. John,
Yes.
I
Is that right? Yes.
I put it in the negative. I suggest that we not recommend.
So
So,
I'm agreeing with you.
and I agree with me.
I agree with you too.
let's follow.
Okay, so, I think I will speak to this one. And move it, and second, Brian. Okay. Article 12, all zoning, amendments have to go to the ballot. Greg,
So town council does not feel that this is a legal. It's legal to do. There is some case law that stipulates that the process for adopting bylaws, zoning bylaws particularly, are spelled out in state statute, and that towns cannot deviate from. There is a referendum process, but we don't have a referendum process. So town council will make that opinion known at the town meeting.
So question, so since the only laws that can't be changed are the laws of physics, if these citizens wanted to pursue this and it turns out to be not allowed under current law,
Yeah.
they are free to go work to get the state law changed
Correct.
so that this could be an option in the future. And that would be the path, their path forward. Okay.
Absolutely.
okay, who would like to move this?
So I
So
think the question is, are we recommending approval or not, right? That's the question.
Oh,
yes,
I think we've, okay, let's direct. Once again. I suggest that we not recommend approval. I move that we not recommend approval.
Second,
So I just want to have a very brief discussion. I will vote differently on this just because as much as I love town meeting, it does not allow for everyone to fully participate in our democracy and vote. If you physically can't be there, you don't have a voice. So I appreciate what these citizens are trying to do. I have neighbors who have flat out told me they just can't sit in a 3-hour town meeting, so they have no voice on issues like this. So for that reason, I support what the citizens are trying to do. I think they should go forward, and if it turns out to be illegal, then they need to pursue the proper legal path to continue to pursue.
So I understand you're recommending that we approve this, even though it will be turned down by.
That's how laws get changed, is by people pushing against the law, and you either find a way around it or you work together. Support to get the law changed so that ultimately this can get passed.
that hasn't happened in the state.
It does,
Yeah.
and when citizens are upset enough, they make things happen. And
I disagree. I think that the ultimate form of democracy is town meeting.
And that's where I disagree, because you have to, it's not inclusive, it doesn't allow everybody who is an registered voter to participate if they physically can't be there.
Now, at the town meeting, town council will make comments.
Correct.
Yeah, they'll make a comment, and you know, this is likely to get voted down, I understand that.
Right.
This-
Okay, well, you know, and I'm, okay.
What has happened in the past, when there's been a disagreement among the board, is that the board member who disagrees steps off the podium, comes up and makes a comment. And I suggest that that would be an appropriate way for you to make your position
I
known.
mean, we'll vote here, you are all wanted to vote not recommending approval, that's fine, and I decide to do that, I will.
Okay. So,
What's the motion?
Yeah.
the motion is to not recommend approval.
Okay,
Brian,
Yes.
not recommend.
Yes.
Kathy, yeah. I agree with not recommend, and John.
and I'm yes, not recommend.
Okay, I will speak for the board on this. And somebody want a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Article 13 is one of the two.
So we have two articles related to Powerhouse Hill. The first one seeks to basically encumber the lands under the dictates of Article 97 of the Constitution. Basically, Article 97 puts in place more strict requirements, or I should say, puts in larger hurdles for changing the status of them. So that make it harder to take any portion of Powerhouse Hill out of conservation. The lands may already be Article 97 encumbered. We're still researching that. The lands are held under the Conservation Commission. Voters approved that back in 77. So the town council just wants to review that, what was approved, the actual wording of the motion. The wording of that motion might already put these lands under Article 97. So this, if this vote were to go through, it would be a reaffirmation of the potential. If that's not the case, this would add a positive vote on this would add the restrictions to these things.
So you're saying this may or may not make a difference?
Correct.
We don't know yet.
They need to do a little more research.
Is there any reason not? This is land that we handled as conservation land. Is there any reason not to put it under Article?
So I think this has come up because there's been a very brief mention of under the discussion regarding Newport Park and potential expansion, adding more buildings to Newport Park. So the lands that the authority owns, most of those lands contain significant wetlands. And it would be problematic for development. And a small portion of town land, Powerhouse Hill land, up slight slope behind the existing units, potentially is a more benign development area. So at one meeting that I think that the authority had with the trust, I believe Steve Kenny from the Conservation Commission suggested, well, maybe we could swap and permanently preserve the wetlands in exchange for some development of what is now Pelican Hill lands. So I think that's where this is coming from.
Is this all like premature to? I guess, we just had a presentation. On our affordable housing efforts.
It's all
and-
speculation.
Yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant to go make any type of a change here or propose, we're not even sure if it would be a change, John's point.
Okay, yeah.
So even without this additional layer,
Yeah.
it required a unanimous vote of the Conservation Commission with a 2/3 vote of town meeting to change the status of any town road, but this particular town is a town of conservation stewardship. So there are measures in place. It's not something that the select board can
Yeah.
sign off on your own. It does require town meeting approval already. If indeed it's not under Article 7 covered and it becomes Article 97 covered, then you have to go through a process with the state legislature. And you'll have to show that any swap of lands is more important lands for conservation purposes. Typically, they require a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 ratio. In other words, you're preserving more lands than you're giving up.
I'm not comfortable making a decision without knowing whether it's currently on Article
Right, we'll
97.
I
I think
came close to having that finalized for this one, but we just want to go a little more.
Because you said make the recommendation.
recommendation and make our recommendation. I move that we make our I move that we put this on the warrant. I think we've already done it.
We've done that,
That's what, I move that we make our recommendation on town meeting floor.
right, you need
Second.
clarification.
Second one.
Yes.
Yes,
That's Brian saying yes, Kathy saying yes, Ann says yes, and John says yes.
We would like to speak to it.
I'll do it. A little homework here.
Yep.
Yep.
It's a second.
So Brian will second it.
Yes.
Okay, and the last one, again, dealing with the same parcels of land. And in this case, it says to authorize and direct. Town meeting cannot direct you, it can only authorize you. So it would authorize you to reconvey the lands to a charitable corporation or trust. Whose purpose includes conservation.
Is this dependent upon Article 13?
It is not.
No.
It's a standalone article. So this would talk about conveying the land. So it would take it out of town ownership. And give it to, basically donating the land to a charitable trust, and they would be responsible for its care.
Given the location of this property, which I walk every single day, multiple times a day. It is in the heart of what I consider, Lower Pine. And it's just too close to, I would say, residential areas, multifamily. It's in the middle of our downtown, and I just would feel uncomfortable not having that land under town control. Not sure, we preserve it very well, I think, but in partnership with the NECT, right?
METC owns it. One of the parcels,
They own
they own the fifth parcel. There's 5 parcels altogether.
Okay.
4 of them are currently owned by the town under conservation stewardship.
Okay.
And 1 is owned by METC.
What's to be gained
Yeah.
by transferring the land?
So I think probably the advocates of this petition would say it permanently locks it.
I'm sorry.
Pretty well marked up.
It's well protected. It is not permanently.
And just to be clear, which parcels, part of those, what streets does this? Yeah,
So Pine,
so it's the part that's on Pine, Pleasant, or
Pine and Pleasant, Friends, a little bit on Elm. at the head of
Okay, so
Elm.
it's that, it is that section,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I don't feel it's necessary to give up ownership of them.
So, under current deed and structure, there is a path of changing it, albeit it's a lengthy one. If this were to happen, there would not be a. That's the bottom line difference.
It sounds as if we would recommend against approval.
Yeah, I agree with Kathy, I just
Okay.
continue divvying up the town.
So,
I move to recommend, we do not. I move that we do not recommend this article.
John,
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yes.
Kathy
I
says
think I
yes.
said yes.
Brian's already said yes. Okay, so we are not recommending Article 14. And John, you were speaking to the previous one.
Yeah,
This one is
analogous or
related,
Okay. Oh,
and Brian can second. Okay,
Really good, threw out that responsibility.
I move to adjourn.
okay.
Brian,
So, yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
That's yes.
What time do you need us to sign the warrant, Brian?
If you combine, if I lay it up to the,
Okay.
I'll make, it's not ready now, right?
it's not really, I need to make some changes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Based on what you're getting.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good.
You're done?
Thank you all.
Oh, it got better after I woke up.
Take a lack of thought. All right.
I just went by the pickleball court on my way in.
Yeah.